A quick disclaimer before we begin. This podcast is for comedy and entertainment purposes, so any jokes that are made are not made in light of any victims that were involved in the incidents that we talk about in our show. We are only to make fun of the antagonist or the serial killer. Without further ado, this is Monsters and Maniacs. Before we begin today's episode, I have a few announcements to make. First, I'd like to thank Chris Bounds for providing his intro music. You can find his YouTube page in the description. He's an amazing artist and I personally am a fan. Our second announcement. We are now on YouTube, SoundCloud and Castbox and also Twitter. You can find all the links available in the description. Hello, and welcome to Maniacs Episode 2. Today I'm joined by Ryan.
Hello.
So I brought Ryan on today because we're both travellers. Today, the
I
case.
love how I just waved at the microphone.
Yeah, I know.
Moving on swiftly.
It conveys well to the audience. Yeah. I'm sure they get the message. But yeah, so our case today has a lot of travelling in it. It's particularly focused around a church that went travelling. A travelling church, almost like a circus, but with church. Oh, do you like that shot there? That was... Yeah.
See, as much as I think that I can drink Jägermeister, I really can't.
Yeah. To be fair, I've got a lovely selection of schnapps and Pepsi. So we're going international today.
Bear with me whilst my stomach just fucking...
Yeah, okay, cool.
Oh, God. Okay, I'm back. Don't worry about it. I'm back.
Today... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Tom and I are a bit of travellers ourselves. I, for one, have lived in 3 continents, I think it is. Moved around the world a bit. Africa, most of Europe, Mexico City. If you want to count Russia, then you've got Moscow on that list as well.
Oh, wow.
So I'm happy to...
Well, we may be taking a little trip to Russia a little later on in the episode.
Oh, not again, please, for the love of God.
Well, we're also taking a trip to the Amazon jungle, which is where I've personally been, and I would actually love to go to Jonestown. I think it would be amazing. It's a historical site at this point. Like it's become this site of mass tragedy, and something that should be learned.
Yeah, kind of like the Holocaust in a certain way.
Exactly.
Like the pure loss of life and the horror that happened there kind of has educational value to it that. I suppose if you were to link the two, like indoctrination can lead to some of the worst tragedies in human history.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, you didn't think I'd be that clever, did you?
I did not say that. We are talking about Jonestown. This was a cult that was it was most popular during the 1960s and 70s. So we'll start off with the leader, who is Jim Jones.
Catchy name.
Yeah, well, his name was originally James Warren Jones, and he was actually James Jones Jr. And you'll find that
Triple J.
Yeah, he's the Triple J.
Fucking hell. It's just
I think that's going to be his rapper name. If it is Triple J.
I'm Triple J here. I'm definitely not queer. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that does actually have quite a lot of
Have you noticed that like mass murderers never have normal names?
I know, yeah, I did mention it, yeah. It's always a junior. Almost all juniors are going to be a serial killer.
Well, as the oldest in my family, that unnerves me about my little brother. This is little Daniel Jr. He's gonna grow up to kill everyone.
And a little interesting fact: he shares the same name with the same guy that voiced Darth Vader in the Star Wars franchise.
Connections were made.
Yeah, and there are even more connections to this because Jim Jones Sr. James Jones Sr. He was basically in World War One, and he was in the trenches, and he got gassed, right? And because of this, right, his voice was like really raspy, and like he barely spoke at all, if at all, and he'd only really been grunts. But I could just imagine him just being there like, go get me a girl.
Exactly like that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. With the cough on the end, because obviously
He'd just be there like...
yeah.
No wonder he turned out to be a psychopath with a dad like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. He would barely speak to Jim at all, and
probably for his own good.
Yeah. But we'll also find out that he wasn't the best of guys anyway. He was a World War One vet, yes, but he was also a racist. So, you know, which one would you rather?
Well, I think at that time period, though, most people were racist in one way or another towards any minority, especially in the Americas.
Oh, I guess so, yeah.
I mean, no, I mean, especially when talking about the early 20th century.
No, it's on silent, thank you.
Yeah.
It's on
No,
silent.
it's basically, when looking at the early 2000s, I mean, the whole race relation is that we only see progress in mid 20th century, you know, like somewhere in the 1960s is when we actually see any solid movement from both parties. I'm not saying that there hasn't been any attempts to obviously make African Americans or any kind of minority in the US equal or seen as people. I think that really just kicks off mainly in the 1960s to see any change or proper change, I would say. I think in Europe, I'm not too sure about what
Jim Jones was actually a huge part of that. Like, he was a...
Don't make me like him.
Well, you know, you may like him at the beginning, but when you'll find out at the end, you probably won't. But
joking.
His mother was called Lynetta, so he was very religious as a child, but his parents weren't.
Well, yeah, the youth rebel against the older, you know. You see that, I've seen that quite a lot while speaking to a lot of people. Like, you'll have two really religious parents and then an atheist child, or two really atheistic parents and then a religious child. I'm not too sure what that teaches, but I'm pretty sure there's some fucking lesson in that somewhere.
Well, there might be, but I can just imagine him being just such an annoying kid. Like, because just think about it. He's just there like, "Mommy, Daddy, you should go to church more." And it's just there like...
Shut up, son, I'm watching TV.
Yeah, and he claimed to have like a very terribly like in poverty, but he wasn't.
So he's a liar as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think he said this because he grew up during the Great Depression as well.
Oh,
like so because it was 1931 he was born, and it was you know, so by the age of 10 I think it was over by then, but
1940s, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, about that time.
But
I mean, but this is the thing that I have issues with religion sometimes. It's there's so much hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, yes, I'm a very, you know...
You will find a lot of hypocrisy in his religion.
Well, yeah, I think him more than most.
Yeah.
But, no, like, it's something that I've seen over and over and over again with religious things, why I'm not very religious myself. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't consider myself anti-religion, but I definitely like to criticize it and hold it to account, especially when it comes to moments when you'll find Catholic priests or Protestant priests or God knows whatever kind of priests saying this and that, and then doing the complete opposite. That hypocrisy is a complete sin, you know, and they treat it, oh, you know, it's fine because la la la, or I did this and this and this, or it doesn't apply to me. And that aspect of religion really upsets me, because if you're supposed to believe in something, I mean, yeah, you see it in all forms of belief, in religion especially, but also in politics and stuff. You know, like I believe in you know, like communism, for example, was very systematic in that. Like, you know, like
well, you might have a lot in common with Jim Jones then, because he was also a communist.
Well, I'm not a communist. I'm not a communist. I'm a social liberal.
Oh, okay. I mean, I think it's
decode
almost
that however you will.
Yeah. Well, he formed almost an obsession with religion, and what he would do as a child is he would find in quotation marks, by the way, in big quotation marks, He would find dead animals and he would hold funerals, but in front of other animals. So
My question is, how did he get the other animals there?
I don't know. I think secretly he was a Disney princess. He just like sort of whistled and then they all sort of converged, you know? The barn being his church, the sheep his literal flock, you know?
Unless he just fucking grabbed them by the ears and just shoved them into a fucking hole.
Yeah,
Covered it up to the neck.
Either or, to be fair. Yeah, they're all just buried in
Results
the
were
sand.
made.
They're all buried in the sand pits.
Mr. Rabbit, have you got a few words to say? No.
I can just imagine how like almost tormenting he would be as well, because he would I just imagine him to be doing gestures to like the next fucking animal. He would be there like doing that slice in the throat thing, like, and he'll be there like watching you.
The funny thing is that if he did that, the animals still don't know what the hell's going on, so he's just like, I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Exactly.
I'm gonna kill all of you. And the rabbit's just looking at him like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. So witnesses did actually claim to see Jim Jones kill animals as well.
This is like an episode of Looney Tunes I have to see.
It is very stereotypical of a person like that we are discussing today who kills animals. It's as you'll find with many of these, they all fit under the McDonald triad.
Well, just complete and utter psychopath.
Yes, exactly.
I think that's a reoccurring theme in the story of like murderers.
Yeah.
Turns out they're not very normal. Hitler, not very normal. Don't know why. Actually, I read a bit. I watched a biography about Hitler.
Oh, did
as to why he became as crazy as he was, and it doesn't obviously excuse anything he's ever done. I think I, as a German, should definitely make that clear.
I think that Jim Jones is comparable to Hitler. You know, he did have the same power. Essentially, he had the same amount of power. Obviously, Hitler had more because he had a whole country. But Jim Jones, he had all of these people to do his bidding, but to do it in his way. So they did obey him. So I feel that he does have the same amount of power, the same way that the Nazis obeyed Hitler.
The thing with Jim Jones, I feel that makes that is I know that we're kind of skipping ahead here, but like I think the difference between Jim Jones and Hitler is that I think Jim Jones capitalized on belief. Belief is not something that comes and goes, I feel, or not very quickly. But Hitler was very he capitalized on the situation that Germany was in during that time period. He capitalized on the fact that Germany was in a financial crisis. He capitalized on the fact that there was a lot of people that felt betrayed by the regime that was in power during the First World War. The Treaty of Versailles was so humiliating to that country, especially when, there was no country that was, I think, more or less guilty in that war. I think in the First World War, it was everyone was revving up for a fight, and I think
we'll probably do like another episode on Nazis and Hitler and things like that. Like,
oh god, no! For the love of Christ!
Oh, trust me, it would be a fun episode.
Oh, I can imagine, mate, but I've had that all my fucking life.
So, growing up, he became very, very charismatic. And that's because of his political and sociological ideals. Because when you listen to Jim Jones talk and like during his earlier statements, and he comes across as very educated, and you have a lot of empathy, I guess, for what he's saying, because it's all very liberal, like, because he was a powerhouse in terms of social diversity, in terms of, like, he even got elected as on the Human Rights Commission at one point, and he met the First Lady of the Linda Carter at the time. Yeah, and I think he met her twice or something. So
what a shame that those poor rabbits couldn't stand and testify against him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the poor rabbits. And
God damn it, bugs.
So to fund his church at the time, what he did is he sold monkeys to people. Yes, actual real life living monkeys. Although not all the time living, because on occasions, most of them, like a lot of the monkeys, died.
By accident, I'm assuming.
Well, actually, there was one, it was reported, that hung itself. And I do not know if it was by accident or if it was on purpose, But
the trial could not conclude.
I'm pretty sure this is just an early warning sign for what's to come. Like,
what? The monkey hung itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Massacre is
Yes.
How
considering how everyone else died, it's very similar.
They didn't really hang themselves.
Well, no, but they still killed themselves. To
but the monkey. Okay. How did no? Like I think we're jumping over the bigger question, which is how the hell did he import this amount of monkeys? And how much is a monkey worth? Like, what is the currency of monkeys?
A monkey is worth $29.
$29. What kind of monkey are we talking here? Are we talking chimpanzee? Are we talking gorilla?
I think it was just a small
portable ham.
Yeah,
portable monkey.
I think they were essentially from the same place that they eventually moved to, which was Guyana. So it was like a bit small. Yeah. It was a South American rainforest monkey. So I'm not sure of the exact.
Whereabouts in the US
species.
Was this?
At the time, he was still in Indiana.
In Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Forgive me, I'm not very caught up in.
I think Indiana is relatively it's like top south, if there's such a thing as top south.
In the top south.
Yeah.
All right. So northern in the southern region.
Like southern middle.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I can imagine living in the middle of America and being like, you know what, fuck it, I want a monkey. You know what,
That's the thing. I know that if I was offered to join a cult, if I just got a pet monkey for 10 years, I'd be like, hell, fuck yes, I'm down.
No, because...
Oh, come on. Alright, you may not get fed that much, but you keep you're relatively thin, so...
What the fuck? What kind of health nutrition advice are you taking?
Well,
you're like, okay, I'm not going to get fed, I'm basically going to starve.
I walk my own road.
You walk...
So,
do you walk a lonely road? The only road that you've ever known?
Yeah, it's called the Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
God damn it, man.
Oh, yeah, that takes me back to the Green Day days.
Oh, mate, don't remind me of my teens. Oh, God. The thing is, I look like a 17-year-old right now, even though I'm 22. But when, imagine what I was like when I was 15. I must have looked 9. And when I look back on pictures of my Green Day days, as you call them, I'm just like, oh, so I was 10 at this age? And my mum was like, no, you were 17. And I'm just like, fuck.
Yeah, I still look 10, so,
Don't worry, you'll grow some pubes soon.
Well, alright, well, that's probably one for the cutting board there.
This has turned into a fucking roast.
I know, it's the roast of Tom. But anyway,
you don't want that.
Yeah. So
continuing. So monkeys are being sold on Etsy.
Yeah, exactly. You could also say that just like his church, the monkey hung on to his every word. No. Okay. Well, you win some, you lose some. You win some, you lose some. All right.
No, I have to applaud you on that one. That was well crafted. I'm just a bit of an arsehole. I'm sorry.
All right. So his political ideologies.
Yeah.
It was mainly based around socialism, diversity, and liberalism, and there was a lot of communism involved in that as well. He actually said to his cult members that there was going to be a utopian paradise within Russia. Now, you've been in Russia.
Yes, I have.
Do you believe that there is ever a possibility of utopian paradise in Russia?
That's it highly, mate. As I lived there for 3 years. I lived in a German embassy compound. I know that sounds very official, but it wasn't really that good. I lived in the German embassy in Moscow, and from what I saw, time has not been kind to Moscow. Oh. I mean, when I arrived there, I think it was...
As in, it's not aged well?
No,
or
it's
as
more
in
like
time has almost captured it in a photo?
In certain areas, you can definitely tell... Pardon. You can definitely tell... Hello, Archers. You can definitely tell the difference between what used to be Russia before the 1990s and the collapse of the Soviet Union and what was built afterwards. Because what you'll see is like a landscape of square grey buildings. Mm-hmm. And then these massive blue or like white buildings of like Western design being built in the city center.
Oh, okay.
It's like it's a lot like East Germany, Eastern Berlin, I should say, or Berlin in general. In that case, you have one side which is or like mixed in between. One side being completely Western and modern, as we would understand it, modernization, or modernized. Whereas the eastern side is kind of blocky and and a bit like, oh, this is all a bit depressing and communist, as you were. But I don't think personally that, like, you know, utopian in and of itself is an interesting concept, I think, and I want to hear your opinions about this. What is utopia?
I guess it's more of a idealistic, like the most ideal place to be, you know, as it like down to one's own individual beliefs, because obviously a utopia for me is not going to be the same as a utopia for you, and but also
Monkeys
like,
are for free,
but it's also
model,
comparable because I mean, people who are like suffering through poverty may consider where I'm living a utopia of sorts, because it's of comfort, isn't it?
And Jim Jones, he said, what was utopia again? What was his perspective of utopia again? Like that the Russia will become a utopia through communism, or
Yes, yeah.
okay. He obviously didn't understand how communism is flawed to its own.
Well, anyway, what he would do around the local areas is he would attend local churches, and he would allow people of colour to attend all of his churches and all of his sermons. And basically, it would piss off a lot of people for doing that. But in the end, he triumphed, and many of the businesses and everything that he would do sit-ins and protests and actually became multi-diverse. And so they opened their doors to both black people and white people.
So I'm assuming at this point he's more like a civil rights activist, using
using his religion as a crutch, almost
as a platform. To spread. Is he like a socialist or?
Yeah, it was very much socialism and communism mixed together. Because obviously Jim Jones's ideals are. We can't fully decipher them, obviously, because it's his own, like, you know, and many of the reasons why he did shit is because he was just a bit obsessed with power and stuff like that.
Please become my lecturer. Please, for the love of God. The reason that Hitler did shit is because he was fucked up, man. He was fucked up. Ryan, what was he? Fucked up. Well done, you get an A+.
Well, yeah. So in 1955, he created what he called the People's Temple, and what he did was after he'd created this temple, he then became the Human Rights Commissioner for the local area of Indianapolis. During this time, he became very paranoid. He thought that there was an impending nuclear apocalypse coming.
Far Cry 3.
Yeah, exactly. I think he would have been a bit of a nerd. Like if Far Cry was out at that time, he would have been like a level 100 raider.
Mate, he would be all over. He would have tattoos. He would have the crucifix all over his face. He'd be in the nuclear bunker, screaming, "Jesus is gonna come and save us all."
Like 1v1 with him on Fallout, I don't think I'd win.
No, man, no, you're screwed. Because he's taking down the Death Claws. He's with the Brotherhood of Steel. He's got the religious righteousness behind him. He's fucking in there.
He's got all the canned food you can want. Like,
mate, no, he's beyond that. He's got all the Nuka-Cola you want. You know, see this Pepsi? Fuck that off. He's got the Nuka-Cola. He's ready for it.
We are getting very nerdy with the Fallout references there.
You don't even know what you've brought into this, mate. I've been playing Fallout since...
Well, there are quite a lot of pop culture references within this within this story, because obviously the Star Wars, there's Fallout.
Well, Far Cry, not so much Fallout. I mean, the thing is... no, because it was in the... What was it you were saying? 60s, 50s?
Yeah.
Yeah, well...
Because it was a nuclear apocalypse in the Fallout, wasn't it, as well?
Yeah, but I think...
I guess it is a bit like the Far Cry 5 thing. Like, if you can imagine...
it's Far Cry 5. I'm thinking Far Cry 4. Whoops.
Yeah, I think it's the one with the cult, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm more Fallout than I am Far Cry.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
No, but this fear of nuclear, or the impending nuclear war, was not just, you know, crazy.
Oh yeah, it was everyone.
Especially that. I mean, the whole reason that we, you know, you were saying that it's connected to Fallout is because if you remember in Fallout, this fear of nuclear war had been prevalent since the Cold War when it began, which was very, reminiscent of the 1950s. Because I just wrote a dissertation about this, so I know everything. No, it's like, in the 1950s, there was such a fear. 50s, 60s, then you got the detente that comes in. But during the 1950s, 60s, and then later in the 80s again, there was such a fear that the Reds or the Blues or the Westerns or whatever you want to call them, the freedom-loving people, would drop bombs on each other. I mean, you see it all throughout culture. I mean, just that famous infomercial, when the nuclear bomb strikes, where will you be? Children in schools jumping underneath their tables. I mean, because obviously the table will protect them.
Yeah, stuff like that.
It's just
I mean,
does it not upset you a bit that they only did that to tell the children to jump under that table,
just to calm them down.
Just to calm them down. That really
it's like when they
me.
put oxygen masks on planes. It's
exactly.
It's just to make you fall asleep.
Exactly.
Basically.
It's just or like the safety belt.
Yeah.
You know what it is there to do? It's so that you'd stay in the seat so they can identify you later after the crash.
Wow.
Or that's what it was told to me by a stewardess when I met her when I met her.
What, was it on a flight?
Yeah.
Well, there's just extremely loud turbulence. By the way, did you know that the seatbelts don't do it? Like, I just to identify your body, and you're just there. Like,
thank you, madam. Well, no, she and I were. I met her in the lounge area was when I was flying from Birmingham Airport to Berlin.
Okay.
And
I thought you were going to say toilet, but okay.
No, I'm not that. I'm not.
You're not in the Mile High Club?
No. Not yet. I have a dream, okay? No, actually, I really hate the Mile High Club. I really don't like it. I think it's cool and all, but I really wouldn't want it.
I love that video of that guy when he's just like filming, and it's just like. And then I've seen the picture of the face of the guy when he comes out of the toilet.
Yeah,
it's like.
Wasn't that the video where there's two stewardesses coming out with one guy from a toilet?
No, I think it was just one girl.
Oh well, that video exists as well. But anyway, like the Mile High Club, I just find that very awkward. Because how do you do that? Like, how do you? Because if a girl goes into a toilet, or a guy, or whatever you're into, goes into a toilet, and then you follow, everyone knows what you're doing in there, and it's cramped. I mean, I
just
don't know.
go in there, just hear someone clapping behind you, like just faintly in the background. Like,
you go. You be a part of that club, son. Thanks, Dad.
Come out. There's a little ribbon and sash, Mr. Mile High Club.
Yeah, it's just like you come out and everyone just goes,
Mr. Mile High Club 2018, like 2019.
No, but you know what I mean. Like the whole, like, even when you're in the toilet. How?
I mean, everyone's going to hear you as well. That's the
exactly.
weird thing.
All they're going to hear is just.
That's why I don't take shit on planes. That's why I don't take shits on planes, because I'm just scared that someone's going to hear.
You're scared that someone's going to hear plop.
Well, no, it's because like whenever you go into the bathroom, right, on an airplane, whenever you come out, there's always someone waiting there, isn't there? Like immediately behind you. You're like you open the door and then your nose is like touching their nose, and you're just there like. I mean, that's if your head can reach their like head, but like.
Well, mine usually can.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm usually just touching their chest or something with my nose, and or it's like directly on the nipple. Like.
Oh, Thomas. I didn't know.
I feel that little nipple erection just like on my nose.
Or you just ting-a-ling-a-ling.
Yeah.
No, like.
I'm a short king, that's why.
But I just feel it'd be very uncomfortable for both parties involved. It's a very prestigious club, but it's not a very fun club to be in. It's just it's one of those things you go over in parties and you'd be like, yeah, me and Joan here were part of the Mile High Club, and
that's how we met.
Yeah, it's how we met. It's how we met. So I was taking a shit, and
we were both on Tinder on the plane, and then we both matched, and we saw each other. We locked eyes from across the plane, and then we're like, "Fuck it, let's do this."
Fuck it, let's go. I just love the idea.
That's the love story, like New York love story of the year.
As funny as I find that, I just love the idea. I was taking a shit. She opened the door. I hadn't locked it, like an idiot.
They had their honeymoon in the airplane toilets as well.
Yeah, the smell turned her on. So. Anyway, moving back to murderers.
Yeah, Jim Jones, he was very paranoid, and this was also because he was a bit of a meth head.
Nothing like a bit of meth.
I know, he loved that meth.
I do not condone the usage of meth, so any jokes I make about methamphetamines going on from here do not reflect my personal opinions or my personal preference towards drugs.
Speak for yourself.
Shut the fuck up. Not that I take drugs. Officially, no. I don't. I swear. Don't look at me like that.
Well, I don't have any opinion on drugs either way.
No, of course not.
To be fair, if you want to do them, just fucking do them.
See, that's not too... I'm not
As
too
long as you're not like harming anyone in the process. Like, it's
yeah, I mean, the libertarian in me says that, do what you want, it's your life. I mean, I'm not...
I think I am libertarian in terms of that. Like,
I mean,
in
yeah,
terms of most things.
I think towards that, yeah, you might be, as long as you don't hurt anyone else.
Yeah.
Do
But
what you
this
want.
guy was the exception. He did hurt people while he was high on meth because...
Well, that's where that grey area shows up.
Well, yeah, and to be fair, I think you'll find this a lot with meth and PCP and fucking bath salts and shit like that, is that they'll make someone super aggressive, super, controlling, and he would fly into these, wild rages, and he would, just scream and rant.
Well, in that case, if that's the case, that the drugs affected him so much that he... Sorry, that's my fault this time.
It's so good.
The drugs may have had an influence on him causing such mass death. Wouldn't it be a case then to make that drugs might not be best to take? Because even though you don't intend to hurt anyone, you
No,
might
I mean,
do that.
obviously I don't agree with, meth and everything, but I'm not going to tell you not to do it because I'm not going to impose my will upon anybody else,
Well, it's that social contract argument, You do the best for everyone does the best for you, kind of thing.
Yeah. He'd also adopted a number of children from various different races as well, and he called them his rainbow family.
I literally was about to make a joke like that. I was going
Were you about to say it was a rainbow
literally
family?
going to say he's just trying to colour in the rainbow. So he's got a child.
He's trying to get the Skittles campaign going. He's trying to taste the rainbow.
Oh no! Oh no, Thomas, no! No, Jesus, tell me more about it later. But no.
Well, his first church is now a gas station. So yeah, it got broken down, turned into a gas station, and you'll find a funny correlation with this. Gas is also poison.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's your tip of the day, folks. Try not to drink gas because you might die. Or you'll have a very good time, but you just can't tell anyone about it.
Also, don't have gas with showers.
Yeah.
That's what
All right.
Grandpapa always told me.
So...
Oh, too touchy of a subject.
The court activity starts to gain a bit of media attention at this point. And he did these... what he used to do is he used to abuse drugs. He used to sexually sort of exploit his congregants. He would essentially take them to a back room but this goes with nearly all of the congregants as well, male and female. Even though Jim Jones claims to be the only straight guy in the world.
What the fuck
It
sounds
sounds like his opening album cover, doesn't it? His
the only
opening
straight
album.
man in the world.
The only straight man in the world, or something like that.
So what does that make everyone else? I'm confused.
I really don't know, because basically what he said is nobody's allowed to have sex except me. So give me all your wives.
So, okay, no one's allowed to have sex except for me. So the human race is basically fucking doomed at that point.
Yeah. Also, you'll find that this is a lot with cults. Is for some reason the cult leader always wants to fuck your wife.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, I think there's a legitimate reason for a cult leader to fuck my wife. I think it is.
Are you in a cult?
No. I mean, we wear these helmets that have lightnings on it, but that's not the point. That's a different kind of cult.
Yeah, we just have a lot of Adidas tracksuits in mind.
We've got Nike. We got these uniforms from Hugo Boss. They're brilliant.
Yeah. But yeah,
we drive the best Mercedes engined metal vehicles.
Yeah.
They're brilliant to get from Berlin to Warsaw in 5 minutes. It's fucking amazing.
But the weird paradox with Jim Jones is he claimed to be the only straight man but fucked guys, but he was also homophobic.
Well, not so libertarian then, is he? This guy is he just like a walking, talking hypocrisy?
Yes, exactly. Everything he says, there's always a back-ended meaning to it.
I hate the fags, but I love it when I'm inside them.
Yeah, exactly. He did these things called humiliation beatings to his congregants. Basically, if if a congregant did something that he didn't like for example, this one girl, she kissed her friend on the cheek as she was leaving, as just a general goodbye, you know.
Yeah.
Because it was very common back then as well, wasn't it? In the 60s and 70s, like it was this almost a hippie revolutions.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it wasn't a sexual thing in itself, but Jim Jones essentially made it into a sexual thing. He was saying that it was promoting sort of lesbians and homosexual relations, and what he would do is he would beat them in front of his congregants, and while all the congregants screamed insults, like it would be like a comedy roast but not very nice, you know.
That's one way of describing it.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those like Comedy Central roasts, but you know, it's just
with the audience included.
Exactly. But instead of everyone else like doing that, it's everyone screaming just insults.
I'm assuming he's had.
And they're not funny ones either, so it's not even worth going to one, really.
I mean, I think you should try it out, mate. I think you'll have fun.
I mean, you know.
I'm assuming you didn't have many French followers. Je ne sais pas. Je ne comprends.
So yeah, he moved his church to California.
Because you know,
lovely California.
California, the center of gay hatred, as we all know so well.
But then he moved again to Ukiah in San Francisco, and this was in 1971.
Again, like a place where everyone hates gays.
Well, no, that's actually the most like liberal city, isn't it?
That's my point. That's
a
sarcastic remark, my friend.
Oh, right. All right. So then the whole cult moved to Guyana, which is this little country basically inside the Amazon jungle. And I've been to the Amazon jungle myself. It's quite beautiful down there, and you know, it's also quite deadly.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Tell me, how many frogs did you have to encounter before you learned that one?
Well, I only licked 2, but then I learned by the 3rd one. So
did the frog just look at you and be like, mate, not again? Look, my wife is asking questions. I really don't. I mean, I love you, mate, but I just can't do this anymore. And you cried, and then you moved on. You're like,
yeah,
Amazon's full of deadly animals.
He filed for divorce a week later after I left. So
my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Don't pick it up again.
What did the kids say?
You know, they were disappointed. But
they were disappointed Dad left me.
They'll get over it.
Well, yeah, you can just roast them and have them for dinner.
Exactly. So what he would do, this was called like Jonestown, and he named it after himself. That's probably a lot like
worst fairground ever.
Mm.
I'm guessing the rides were all Jim Jones.
Yeah. Also, I just...
You must be this tall to ride Jim. Oh, sorry. Continue.
I find it so weird that they called him uncle and dad and shit like that, because it's like, one, you should, like, even if you have an uncle, don't call them uncle, because uncle's just a creepy name in general.
Well, no, I call my uncle Uncle T.
Yeah, but that sounds like a rapper name. That's all right. Like if it's like Uncle Trevor, or Uncle Steve.
Don't call him Trevor, because then I just get flashbacks of GTA, and I don't want to be around that uncle.
You know, it's like, yeah, but I mean, that's how I imagine all uncles, is just like Trevor from fucking GTA. That's how I imagine all of them to be.
I swear to God, if my uncle were like Trevor from GTA, I would fucking stay away from him.
Mm.
Or I would be around him all the fucking time, because just to see what he gets up to.
Yeah.
I shit my pants.
But yeah, so they all moved to Guyana, and at this point, he literally had a captive audience.
Right.
You know, because
like how many people?
About 913 or something.
No, those are rookie numbers.
Well, you know, one, he was holding them captive. Secondly, they were captivated by his words. So they were a literal captive audience.
God damn it, Tom.
No, okay. See, I thought you'd get it by the first time, and then I had to like sort of.
No, it's just because you have this look. Whenever you read off one of those jokes, you have this look of like,
Okay,
no, it's a good joke, mate. It's a good joke. No, I like
Yeah.
it. I like it. I like it.
Well, you know.
Captivating
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah. So what happened was residents were lied to, and they were like expecting to go back within a few months to America, or like a few weeks, because they still had families and things like that.
Yeah.
And then Jim Jones was like, "No, you're not going back. Nah, you're here. You're here now. You're here now. Like shush. Like, you know, like shushing a horse kind of thing. Like shh.
Oh my God, I just had this like. Sorry, I'm still on the uncle, and like he fucks his congregation. So it's just like, do you want to come to Uncle like Jim's cabin? You know,
What would you rather him be called though? Like
Daddy.
I was gonna say daddy or uncle. Like. So at that point, like, if you were to be in that cult, eventually you'd be having a sip of daddy's juice.
Oh God, mate, Tom, no, please. Don't remind me of my childhood, Jesus Christ. I'm only getting over that now. Like, you know, I stopped at the divorce thing. You just brought up that. Damn.
So what happened was Jim Jones was very, very paranoid. Also, the day before they left, the reason why they left essentially was because a article was going to be written about Jim Jones and what was going on inside the article, right? Over that phone call, he had it on speaker and he had like this little council with him, right? It's like he was such a nerd. It was like he had a council of wizards or some shit, you know? It was like some fucking Ministry of Magic or some shit. You know?
Do you think they were all wearing robes?
mean, they probably were. I very much doubt that they were wearing actual clothes.
Then again, I really want to be a part of that council. Just where everyone wears robes and just like gets their wands out, put their hats on, just be like, now we're gonna talk to the reporter.
But yeah, he had it on speakerphone with the article, and she was reading out the article out loud. And while she was reading it out loud, he wrote on a piece of paper. He was like, "We leave tonight," and they did.
Where to?
Guyana.
Oh, this was still in America.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I backtracked a little bit there because
I thought he was just like in Africa. He was like, get the hit squad together. I hate the Washington Post.
If we're not safe in the jungle, we're not safe anywhere.
We'll move to the Sahara tonight.
Yes. But anyway, so families were then forced to like spy and snitch on each other if they thought about leaving. Because obviously, like what Jim Jones had done is he confiscated all their passports and shit. So they couldn't go anywhere. There was there was very, very little food because the animals kept on dying, probably because of Jim Jones. He was probably just fucking
funerals.
He was probably just fucking preaching them to death, like you know.
I think it was the funerals, mate.
I think even the farm animals were probably killing themselves, so it probably did find them. Like I think it's whoever just generally spoke to Jim Jones ended up killing themselves. It's the curse of Jim Jones.
I think it's more the fact that all these monkeys that were supposed to just kept on hanging themselves, and it's just like a real.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of the monkeys died before they even arrived to him, so I think they had like some preemptive knowledge of what was coming.
What, they googled?
Yeah,
his
exactly.
name?
They googled the name. They were like, "Fuck that."
Shit.
Fuck that shit. I'm out. But yeah. So what happened? All incoming and outgoing mail was taken as well. Like anytime a letter would come in, they would at first ask Jim Jones, "All right, can we give this letter to one of the members?"
Yeah.
And then he was just there like,
Nah, bruh.
Nah, bruh. And then they just stopped even giving them to him because he was just like, no, every single time. Which is understandable. It's like, if you got a job that you know is how the result's going to do, why do it in the first place?
Did I graduate? No. Did I graduate? No. I'm not even going to fucking ask. You know what? The more and more you explain about Jonestown, or Disney Jones, as I like to call it. Disney Jones Express. No, I feel like it sounds more and more like either hardcore Soviet countries or like even the totalitarian oppression that was seen by the Nazis. You know, like this secrecy, people spying on each other. You know, one leader making all the decisions.
Exactly. Yeah. You'll find that with a lot of cults. Actually, is that there is always a singular charismatic figure at the top, like telling, and he always has like these things called lieutenants. So it is almost like a military operation, like a cult is, because you have lieutenants and then you have the followers, and the followers make up like a lot of the percentage, and then about 10% of the cult will probably be the lieutenants, and then
I'm just googling the definition of cult.
Yeah, well, it's usually like a group of individuals or a organization. Like for example, Scientology. That's a very contested one. People think that's a cult. I think it's a cult.
You be careful. Tom Cruise will be in here any moment now, and
I'd have him on as a guest. I don't
mind. You know, you have to just look him in the eye and say, "You are a fudge packer." If you get.
Do you know what? With Tom Cruise, I actually would be able to look him in the eye as well.
Exactly. I know. I'm just asking, why the fuck is your tooth in the middle? You don't have two buck teeth. You have one tooth, and that scares me. You're an awesome actor, but what the fuck going on with you?
Tom Cruise only has one one tooth.
Have you not seen the picture? I'm not sure if I'm just crazy, but like I at some point in my life I saw a picture. It could have been edited. I'm not sure. Where Tom Cruise doesn't have 2 teeth like this. He has 1.
Oh wow.
Like that. I'm not sure. I'll have to see pictures of it. But anyway, a definition of a cult is a system of religious veneration and a devotion directed towards a particular figure or object. So I'm assuming that that's that charismatic thing. But that could be exactly the.
It could also be a religious icon. Like, for example, God.
Okay, fair enough. But that could also be the definition of any totalitarian state.
Yeah, exactly.
So, except for the religion part, I'm just saying political.
Can you just imagine what would happen if 2 cult members would try to convert each other?
I think it's
my cult's bigger than your cult. Yeah, well, I'll tell them my cult to like.
Mate, now you're just explaining what religious war is. You know, like my God is better than your God. My God has a bigger dick than your God. You know, don't even get me started on religion, mate. It literally is like that. I mean, look at the Dark Ages, for example. It's just one massive clusterfuck of Christians and Muslims just shouting at each other, saying whose imaginary friend is better than the other. Yeah. And then you move on a little bit further, and then you've got within the Christian religion, then you've got the Protestants and the Catholics fighting each other. Oh, my version of this God is better than your God. Well, my version of this God is right and yours is wrong.
Yeah, well, you'll actually find with a lot of cults as well that they're sort of alienated from the rest of the world. Jim Jones did this quite literally by isolating them in a jungle. Yeah. And then he would be on loudspeakers and he would basically give them news. News, and then basically it was all fake news. So he was
fake news.
Fake news.
Fake. It's the worst. It's the worst news in the world.
Yeah, so what he would do is he would basically say that there was these massive...
propagated by China.
There'd be like genocides of black people in America and things like that. But these people believed it because the only source of information was Jim Jones himself. Like, that was the only new... Because they couldn't like get in a newspaper, they couldn't like look on Twitter or something what's going on. You know,
do you think they'd ever tweet just like hashtag hate the jungle, hashtag where's my monkey,
hashtag where are all these mosquitoes coming from,
hashtag what the fuck, hashtag Jim Jones for life,
monkey died 7 years ago, it wasn't even worth it,
hashtag I'm still waiting for my refund.
But yeah, so,
hashtag Amazon does not deliver to the Amazon.
Yeah, I think they found that was quite a disturbance there. So
my Amazon Prime does not work.
So what he did is he started doing these white knight rituals. And white knight, I mean, it's a bit of a shit name for what it was, because what he did is...
Why not Black Knight? Fucking racist.
Well, they were practicing for a mass suicide, essentially, where he said what would happen is he would put like everyone would come take a cup of Jim's juice. Do you know what we should like get like actual Flavor Aid and then bottle it up and call it Jim's juice.
No, please, for the love of Christ.
But so they all got a bit.
Probably what they said.
They all got a cup of Jim's juice, right? And then they all drank it, and then he was like, "Ha, psych! It was poisoned. Ha ha ha! You're all gonna die."
Hashtag lol.
Yeah, exactly. I think he would have been a Twitter troll if he was.
Mate, he would have been brilliant. Him and Trump would have been just like talking to each other, and he'd be like, "Hashtag not a racist," and Trump would be like, "Oh my God, I love this guy."
Totally, me too.
Oh my God, me too. You know, I love guacamole, and I love everything with Mexico, except for when they're in my country.
Yeah.
And they're doing my job.
So the first few times that he did this, it was fake, right? And then like, so everyone would be like crying and then like panicking, and then he'll be like, "Ha, got you again!" It wasn't poison, double bluff, you know. So he double bluffed them like a good card game poker.
Mate, what the hell is he? Is he supposed trying to be a stand-up comedian or something?
I mean, he isn't, no. But
hashtag got you again. Funny,
yeah,
funny.
Exactly. No, he's a YouTube prankster. That's, you know.
What, is just clickbaiting everyone?
Putting acid in cups. You know.
Oh my!
Look at today's video.
No, the video title's just, "Oh my God, I murdered like 900 people. Oh my God, what a weird day!" And like, "Oh my God, I got you.
I committed mass genocide. Gone wrong."
Oh no, Jesus.
Or gone right if it
or gone right, you know, depending on what your aims were and that.
Yeah. So what happened was,
I'm surprised they didn't fucking fucking strangle him. Wouldn't you do that? Like if I came up here, I was like, for example, here I brought us.
To be fair, this was a lot of this was at like 3 a.m. or like middle of the afternoon, because what they'd have to do is they would essentially farm their own food as well and build their own houses, and there wasn't enough houses for people that were there.
Didn't play enough Minecraft, mate.
Everyone, yeah, exactly. They didn't know that they got their sand and rock wrong.
I don't think. I mean, the Amazon is famous for not being fertile land anyway. I mean, the way the Amazon works.
Well, no, I actually think it's very fertile.
No, it's not.
Considering the amount of habitats that are.
Yeah, but if you cut down the trees.
Well, yeah, it's not going to be fertile when you cut down the trees.
Exactly, but that's where they would have lived. I mean, I've seen pictures of the settlement. It's all cleared. If you take away the trees and the very fragile ecosystem that the Amazon has, if you take away those trees, the only thing that's fertile is the first layer of land, or the first layer of dirt, I should say. Once that's gone, the rest is all useless.
True. But anyway, so what happened was it was still getting a lot of controversy over in the US. Like families were still looking for their for members.
Yeah.
And so a US senator actually went in to Jonestown.
Yeah.
He was called Leo Ryan. And
oh shit.
What? Oh yeah.
Oh no.
So basically what happened is while he was there, people were like slipping him little notes. Like I know that I wouldn't be very good to be in Jonestown, because I'll just pull a prank. Like I'd just write, "Do you like me?" Check yes or no, and then like handing it to him. While other people would be handing like, "Help, get me out."
And he'd like pass it on to some other person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Goodbye.
It'd just be going straight to Jim Jones, and Jim Jones would give me the eyes like,
Time for a bit of daddy's juice.
Yeah, exactly. So what happened was he gathered about 40 people or something. And he then went on to go to the airport. Not to the airport, but to go to an airplane on an airfield.
Or
There's a lot
clearing,
of
as we call it.
Yeah. And what Jim Jones had done is he had sent essentially a hit squad, and also he'd planted a mole within the group of 40 people. And so on the plane, the pilot, he was meant to shoot the pilot, but they managed to actually wrestle him to the ground before he did anything. And then what happened is, the first plane went right, and then came Leo Ryan with some other people, like journalists and things like that, and cameramen. And this was actually recorded on film as well, when a group of people with AK-47s, and assault rifles, came out.
The gun of freedom.
Yeah, exactly. Russia's proud moment there.
Would you think the Russians were just like, oh, for fuck's sake?
No, I think they would just be there like, oh yeah, sick, nice one.
Oh yeah, it's not the Americans who are causing fucking shit in South America for once.
So yeah, this was actually recorded on film where they just opened fire on people. The senator himself was shot and killed. There weren't that many survivors, except for there was a journalist that was on a documentary. She'd actually been shot in the face. Oof. Yeah, and there was another journalist that had actually managed to run into the jungle and managed to
get away. Yeah.
But that was the thing. There had been some escapes from Jonestown before that. Like for example, a man had run into the jungle, and then about 3 days later came out of the jungle and found police, and he was saying there's a slave camp over there essentially.
Oh right.
But yeah. So then Jim Jones did his final White Night, and this one he actually recorded as well.
Yeah, I've seen videos of it and stuff like that.
And he didn't video record it, but he did a cassette tape essentially, and he had and to be fair, I've listened to this and
it's chilling. It's chilling
because there's actually you can hear kids crying in the background and stuff as well. And he's saying shush children, it's almost over now. And he's almost calming them as they're thinking.
You can definitely see through the audio recording why so many people were drawn to his character.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's got a very calming voice.
I mean, to be fair, he does sound like he's been smoking 40 cigars a day. No, while he's been in the womb though.
His voice sounds like every pedophile. I feel just that weird kind of high pitched. Kind of, shush children.
I always think it sounds quite raspy, almost like his
father.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm remembering it wrong.
A quick edit. I will now play a section of the Jonestown death tapes. Please be warned, viewer discretion, listener discretion is advised.
The children here great deal because of Jim Jones. And the way the children are laying there now, I'd rather see them lay like that than to see them have to die like the Jews did, which was pitiful anyhow. And I'd just like to thank Dad for giving us life.
Standing here because create an issue for them. They said if they saw the country coming down, they'd give us the code. They give us a code. You can check on there and see if it's on the code. You can check with Russia to see if they'll take us in immediately. Otherwise, we die. I don't know what else you say to these people. But to me, death is not a fearful thing. It's living. It's treacherous. I have never.
As you can hear, they are like the whole Jonestown cult is almost brainwashed by Jim Jones.
But it's just the sound that he projects is just, it's trusting, but at the same time villainous. And I'm like, yeah, the whole environment of that tape really just make your hair stand up.
Yeah. I think he just like what he did is he put cyanide inside grape flavored Flavor Aid. Yeah. And I don't know why they chose grape, because there was probably better options out there, isn't there?
What, coconut?
Well, I mean, I think they would have preferred that. Like, to be fair.
Your tastes are weird.
You know
they should have used. Yeah, you go.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Speaking of which.
Yeah. That's probably another one. So about 7 and also 700 people probably drank the uncle's juice. Jim's juice.
No, stop it with Jim's juice. It just makes me think of Daddy's juice.
Everyone drank Jim's juice, and about 700 people did that, and then about 200.
What did the other 200 people do?
They were either shot or they were injected directly with syringes with cyanide. So yeah.
What, did they run out of juice, or what the fuck?
To be fair, I think, like, comparing to any like villain in terms of like movie history, I think Jim Jones is a lot like the Joker, like trying to like poison the Gotham like fucking reservoir, you know, and he's just there laughing while everyone's just choking and shit.
Well, the thing is, like, I think it's called Murphy's Law or something like that, which is the longer any debate goes on the internet, the longer it goes on, the more likely that Hitler will be brought up as a reference or something like that. And I think that's very true.
Are you sure you're not just talking about a conversation with you?
No, that's just me. That's just me talking about my granddad, mate. Don't even start trying to make the Nazi jokes. No, my grandfather was not involved with the Nazi regime. I have to make that clear. It is a satirical, humorous reference.
Jim Jones himself was a bit of a coward. He couldn't actually drink the poison himself. Another follower had to shoot him in the head.
Cum. That's, you know.
Yeah. Another follower had to shoot him in the head, and this was in 1978. So the police were then called. The police weren't called at that.
Were they on their way? As far as I remember?
No, it was the next day that they were found. Because obviously they had to get through the jungle and shit, didn't they? I've seen
better luck through the jungle than the M4.
Yeah, I've seen they took photos of the crime scene, obviously, and I've seen photos of that, and it actually looks horrible.
Can you even call that a crime at that point?
A crime?
Yes. Like, would you call that a crime? Well, yeah, of course you call it a crime, but it's at such a level. Like, can you even call it a crime? It's beyond a crime at that point. It's genocide.
Yeah, it's a tragedy. But you can see in the pictures they're piled on top of each other, the bodies, because there were about 918 in total or something. There was also many conspiracies after, any surviving members of the Jonestown cult who had maybe left before or didn't go to Guyana. They believed a hit squad was after them. Yeah. Because Jim Jones has essentially said, if you try and leave, we're going to kill you. And there were actually a number of mysterious deaths as well.
Do you think somebody survived, like a mole in the US or something like that?
Possibly, yeah. To be fair, I don't know. There might be other members out there. Like,
I mean, I hope that as many people as possible got out of that.
do you think it would even be possible to carry on after that? Like, or
I mean,
like there might be like some underground Jonestown that we don't even know about yet.
I doubt that there's no. I don't think there's an underground Jonestown because we have Google Maps. No. I don't think it's likely that there's an underground Jonestown. I don't, because with the death of the cult leader, the cult usually dies. You cut off the head of the snake and the snake dies, unless they revere him, which he goes down as a martyr, which I suppose speaks in your favor. But I don't believe so. I think I wouldn't be surprised that the Jonestown cult still exists. That I'm not. I don't have much doubt upon. I don't know. I really hope that as many survivors of that place got out as possible, and they could live a free and happy life away from that. I mean, just if you look at the Holocaust and things like that, just the way that people, how people, survivors of the Holocaust, struggle to go on after seeing so much death and destruction, horror that humanity, created.
The thing I find fascinating about Jonestown and Jim Jones in general is the fact that he managed to gain all this media publicity from essentially good work at first.
Yeah.
Like, he'd almost convinced the world that he was a good person, and then, like, I think, like, if he was alive today, him and his choir would be on, like, Jimmy Fallon and shit. Like, with Jimmy Fallon, like, hey, so what are you gonna get up to and shit? Like, that's my shit Jimmy Fallon impression.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
No, I mean, yeah, someone preaching goodness. But the thing is, I think I'm actually surprised. In the 1960s, to be able to preach that kind of rhetoric, especially pro-communist rhetoric, and not have the media completely destroy you and destroy your fan base, and that he could still gather so many people around him is quite impressive. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays, it's if not worse. I think nowadays a person like Jim Jones is very hard to come about, because.
Do you think so?
Yeah,
do you not reckon that there could be cult leaders, like, because there's still Scientology out there, like
yeah, but there's nothing in Scientology that makes us suspect that every member of Scientology will murder themselves so they can go to.
Well, true, but I don't think anyone really suspected.
Yeah, but I think there's also a freedom of the freedom of information these days is a lot higher than it was back then. I mean, for example, all they needed was one guy who had a fucking phone, tweeted Jim Jones is a murder camp. I'm living in it. Help me. That kind of thing. The freedom.
Oh yeah, with like in terms of access to
information
yeah.
is so much higher now. I think this kind of stuff gets out much quicker. I'm not going to say that there aren't any cults out there that might be perceived as harmless. However,
there are actually. There's a statistic is that there are thought to be about 300 cults right now within the US.
Yeah, but furries don't count, so it's 299.
But think about that. There's 51 states, isn't there, in the US, and there's 300 cults. That's like I can't even do the math for that. I can't even do the math for that. That's just too high a number
divided by
per
51,
state.
was it?
51, yeah.
Yeah, 51. Well, that's like what? 4 for each one.
Oh, that is
300.
That's still quite worrying, though, isn't it?
No, that's 5.8.
Oh.
Well, well, the US is a big place.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? This is why there's.
Anyway, thank you for listening to.
Way to go, pal.
Yeah, thank you for listening to Monsters and Maniacs episode 2. I have been Tom, and
I've been Ryan.